Hello, everyone. This is the voice of Jess Claire and Jay Pandia. We are coming to you to discuss something that is very close to our hearts around the business models that affect scale. This was actually Jay's idea. You're not going to see my face today because my camera's not working. So I'm just going to be this little image in the side here. But Jay and I really wanted to talk about this because it's potentially something that maybe you may not be aware of. So if you are, say hello. If it shows Facebook, please do tell me who you are so I know who I'm talking to. But yeah, Jay, so let's get straight into it.
Let's get it.
You wanted to talk about this. You wanted to talk about this discussion on business models. And I asked you what the 3 business models are. And you said product, service, and platform. And you gave me a description of what they are. So how do those different business models actually affect scale?
See, if you really look at the history of business, right? Um, Product business, service business, that's like has been around for a couple of 100 years, maybe a lot more actually, a few thousand years. Business as we know it, right? Selling food as a product, where there is a physical stuff. And then lately we have seen emergence of the virtual products, where people are selling virtual products like online courses, ebooks, etc. Those are the examples of what I call a product business. As a business model, you're selling a products, you're making manufacturing things, and you're distributing them, and you're selling them, right? And generating revenue. That's a product business. Service business, services, haircutting, facials, massages, beauty therapy, all those legal accounting services, they're service businesses. You need to acquire certain skills, licenses, accreditation to demonstrate and endorse your skills, and then you provide services, and in exchange of your services, customers pay. That's a service business, right? And then these type of product businesses or service businesses have been around, and most business owners, most enterprises, biggest companies, you look at companies like Costco, biggest retail giant. Even today, they are bigger than Walmart, Costco, like at size of Amazon in their revenues and how many years they've been around. Oil and gas, again, it's a product as a business, right? Energy, that's also a product. Electricity, that's a product. Building supplies, all of these are the product businesses. These type of businesses, these type of companies have been around for a very, very long time. And Philips, Ford Motors, Macy's, these are the type of companies we are talking about as an example of product companies. And they've been around for as long as we know. And then this type of business model has been around for a very long time. And then there are service businesses, JP Morgan, financial services businesses, insurance being a product companies, but then you have consulting companies like KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers providing services. Biggest law firms around the world, accounting companies, Accenture, consulting arms. These are the typical examples of service businesses. From your suburban accountant to a physiotherapist, these are service businesses. And to deliver, to actually be in the service business, many of these are regulated. To acquire skills, go to university, do a course, go to TAFE, do a course, get some certification, licensing, registration, engineers, like that, right? These are service businesses. These 2 type of business models have been around for a very long time. Last 20 years, which in the scheme of things is very small, it's fairly new. We have seen an emergence of a new business model, which is what we call a platform business model. And we've seen the companies that emerge as a result of this business model. And these companies have actually taken a biggest market share and disrupted biggest industries. This is what we call a platform business model, right? And so what's the example of a platform business model? When you ask me, Jess, the definition of a platform business model in 5 words, and my response was, I think the simplest way to explain the platform business model, and we can give examples, simple, is facilitation of the exchange of value. It's a bit wordy, but facilitate value exchange digitally. That's it. That's a platform business model as a definition. Uh, and now, so you look, okay, well, what does that mean, right? So let's look at some example. Google as a platform, YouTube as a platform, uh, Tinder dating app is a platform, Uber ride sharing app as a platform. It's not just an app, there is a platform business model behind it. Airbnb is a platform. It's not just a website. People go, Airbnb will go on this website and do this. Well, there are differences between websites and a platform. And Uber is not just a website, it's a platform, right? And so you go, okay, well, and that's what I'm talking about as the business model behind it. And if we see these type of companies, the way they do business, the way they create value is very different from the selling a product, manufacturing a product, distributing a product, and selling a product to, or acquiring skills and providing services based on those skills. These companies operate very differently, and this business model is very different, which is what we are talking about today, right? So platform business model is, in a simplest form, facilitating the exchange of value through, digitally, right? And that's the platform business model. So, and what's the difference? We I think every entrepreneur, every business leader, people, the thing that gets me all the time is people talk about, I got a platform for this, I got a platform for this, that's a platform, website is a platform, and then your Instagram account is a platform, I'll put you on my platform. These people use the term platform very loosely without really getting the full scale nuances of what does that mean in terms of the business model. It's okay to use that in the day-to-day language, but today is about understanding some detailed nuances in the context of a business model and how does that differ from a traditional product or services business. So I gave some examples of platform companies. Google, Facebook is a good example of a platform. Tinder is a platform. Amazon is a platform. So what does it mean when I say exchange value, and why is it important that we talk about this? Why is it important that we understand this? Well, let's just talk some data. Okay, present some data over last 20 years. If you look at, here we 2024, if you look at S&P 500, okay, these are the biggest companies, public listed companies in US, and 500 companies in the world, and you look at the top 10 companies in S&P 500, you look at the top 10 in Nasdaq, public companies, and what you see is emergence of platform companies occupying that top spots. So Nasdaq top 10, you have seven, magnificent seven is the word that's been used often in investment circles. You're talking Meta, running Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, that's what Meta owns. Your Google, your Apple, your Amazon, right? These are your platform companies. So traditionally digital giants, right? So Nvidia is not a platform company, they're a product company entering into and trying to get and occupy a platform space. So they're transitioning to actually become a platform company. Maybe some topic for some other day, right? I want to keep it fairly simple here. Is so how come these companies, which didn't exist 20 years ago, 24, 23 years ago, have occupied and the biggest space and the top spots in the industry? I've always had this curiosity, what had these businesses grow exponentially? And there are lots of strategies and lots of business coaches and people talk about scaling businesses, but I've not yet heard um, any narratives or speaker other than the platform narratives where you actually examine the business model. I've not yet heard business coaches or business leaders or gurus, so-called gurus, talk about the importance of business model in scaling the businesses and becoming and dominating the industry and taking the biggest share of the pie. That's probably does that explain just the differences of the business model? I want to make sure that I'm speaking to listening and people actually get what I'm talking about, because sometimes I can have a tendency of making something complicated or complex. So I just want to check in.
Yeah, that definitely explains it. It does. In terms of the differences in the business model, I think when people think about a business model, they think of more of a go-to-market strategy or a business model canvas about how they're going to enter into the market, where their channel, what channels they're going to use for marketing, what's their sales strategy. So I think when people think of business models, they're actually thinking something more like that. So
Okay.
what you're suggesting, and even when you think of business model canvas, when we start to write that down, you think of how your business is set up. You've
Yeah.
simplified it into product. Are you a product company? Are you a service company or a platform company? But
Yeah.
the question we're exploring here is, how does it impact my ability to scale? Because we know a lot of business owners who are experiencing that pinch of how to scale their business and what they're doing to scale their business. And we also know that every Joe Brown on the internet, that's a bad use of name, but we also know that everyone on the internet has got a solution to scaling.
Yeah.
To the point now that I've actually seen influencers pointing to everyone says they're going to help you scale. Right.
And that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing that really gets me. This whole, so many influencers, social media commentators who talk, and then coaches and advisors and consultants who talk about scaling. I think most of them, no one's talking about looking at the business model as an access to scale. And this is more contextual rather than tools and techniques. Okay. So yeah, I get very passionate and I get worked up when I hear that kind of content and the narrative and the products and services use it to scale your business and a whole lot of that stuff, which is great marketing, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but everyone's got to at least have an opportunity to examine their business model as a part of answer to scale. That's what we are talking about today.
Yeah. So how does a business model impact an ability to scale?
Yeah, very good, right? So, how does it actually impact? So, as you scale your business, what happens? Let's just take an example of a product business. How you scale a product business, right? Yes, marketing, you go to marketing, I think is largely common, but there are nuances that are emerging in a platform business. But let's just forget those nuances for a moment and generalize. And I categorically say generalizing it, okay? As you scale your business, you scale your marketing, right? You got to have a awareness of your brand, your lead generation system, your acquisition systems, your processes, your team, whether you're working with an agency or an internal team or a combination of both, PR agencies and all of that. That's what is happening as you scale your business. Your marketing costs are scaling. Your complexity of delivering campaigns is scaling. One-person business, what a marketing looks like is very different for a 5-person business versus 10 or 20-person business versus 100 or 500 people and 1,000 people and 20,000 people company. The marketing looks very different. But one thing that is common is you're scaling your people, the team members, and the cost. Whether product business, service business, platform business, your cost continues to increase. Then and so I want to examine the cost component. Whether it's a marketing, your cost of delivery, you scale your product business, you need to now go and have a bigger warehouse, bigger manufacturing facility. Your number of boxes and the inventory you are storing increases. Now the people working in the factories increases. Your distribution supply chain complexity increases. How does those increases happen? You have to invest more. We're going to have a bigger factory. We're going to have a bigger warehouse. We are going to buy more trucks to be able to distribute our products to our retailers and wholesalers, right? So as your product business increase, your cost propositions increase. As your service business scale, what happens? You are hiring more skilled people. Your HR department gets bigger, right? Because your service businesses are people-based businesses, and and the moment you have a lot of people in the business, the speed of service delivery decreases, the politics increases, your HR department's job gets more complicated, right? And so again, you hire more people, labor cost becomes the biggest cost complexity factor in scaling service businesses, right? You hire people from the market, nobody is trained to deliver services to your standard and your businesses and how you want it. Now you're going to invest in streamlining your processes, your standard operating procedures, training people up. You train them up, retaining them, right? And then while anytime you hire people, there is a drama that also increases. So you scale the service business, skills acquisitions, retention of people, and then management of people becomes the biggest part of that business. And therefore, cost continues to scale up.
And so
right?
when you see these questions, or when you see these people out there going, we're going to help you scale your business, we're going to help you scale your business, come and do our course, we'll help you scale your business, and they're not actually addressing the business model, what kind of impact are these programs going to have over time?
Well, I think a lot of those programs and coaching and all that it's all valuable, right? It's
Yeah.
all valuable for product and service business owners. I think it's not what necessarily what they are doing is what I question. Is what gets missed is a problem. What gets missed is you got to offer a choice to the business owner, to the entrepreneur, to the business leader in, have you examined the platform business model before you make a decision to scale? And the awareness and understanding of platform business model is just not there with people, which is why we are talking about it, right? Is so the value, I just don't want to bag anyone, right? I'm not taking value away from business coaches and advisors and consultants and their contribution in scaling service business or product businesses. Massive contribution. I'm not demeaning that. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just saying there is an additional missing component that needs to be considered, that needs to be part of the conversation of scaling, that is currently, I just don't see enough evidence for that. And so that's why we are bringing that in the mix. We are bringing that in the narrative, in the conversation for consideration. So that leaders, business leaders who are making decisions, they actually make the decisions with their eyes open. Having considered what they have to consider, then they make a decision for scaling. Great, right? If you don't know, you go to a restaurant and you only offered burgers and chips, but never a taco, it's like removing a choice, right? It's like I pick burgers and chips, and yes, there is a drinks with that, but hey, I want if I knew that you offered taco, I might go for taco and burrito and not burgers and chips. It's like that kind of conversation, right? It's about expanding the choice that business leaders have in strategic decisions of scaling, because scaling is not what it always has been pictured as. Scaling can actually increase requirement of the capital, requirement of the management, the complexity of the business, the structures, and it's not for every business owner. So I just want to bring that in the conversation.
Yeah. You have a slide here that you're going to talk about. Do you think that is the time to talk about it?
That's right. I think that picture demonstrates the difference in how platform, this is like this slide says platform economics, is you can see the red line, right? So red line is an indicator of the cost. As you scale the business, your cost increases. So the red line, the y-axis is a indication of the cost, and x-axis is the supply, right? So more you supply, your cost increases. That's what the red line is indicating. Bigger your business gets, bigger your cost gets. But have a look at the blue line, which is a representation of platform. See that costs are not increasing as your supplies gets higher and higher. So you have both of those business models, and in this graph, it uses the word linear. Linear includes platform business. Linear includes products and services business. The word linear is used here is because to explain the linear process of value creation, right? So in a product business, you conceptualize the product, you design the product, you manufacture the product, and then you distribute the product, and then the customer gets the product in the hand at the end of the process. That's a fairly linear process. You can't muck around with the sequence of the activity. Similarly, in a skills business, you conceptualize the service, you design the service, you acquire skills for the service. Instead of manufacturing, you're acquiring the skills, whether you do it yourself or you're hiring people. And then you are providing the services using those skills, which is what distribution comes in. And then, your revenue gets generated, right? So that's it's a linear fashion, which is why a single word called linear is used depicting the red line. Really understand this picture. As you scale product business or a service business, your costs are going to increase. Your costs are also going to scale. More you supply, more your cost increases. Simple as that. Beauty of the platform business when you're beginning, go back to that slide, Jess. Go back to that slide. Right? If you see this diagram, this graph, when you are starting your product business, service business, so your platform business versus your traditional product or services business, cost equations look similar. At some stage, as you start to grow, your platform business, the blue line, is at a higher cost than the red line. Look at that. And this is the trajectory where entrepreneurs, platform company founders, which is why require external capital. And because it looks like when I'm building a platform company, it looks like the costs are so much compared to the traditional business that I have known, right? You look, the traditional business in early days, the red line is below than the blue line. So in early days, and when I say early days, I'm talking first 3 to 5 years. The cost of a platform company, cost of a platform business model is higher than a cost of a traditional product or service business. And in its first 3 to 5 years, where it's more capital, it requires more capital. But see what happens at an inflection point where both the lines collude, right? You see platform companies' cost, the blue line, remains stable. You can keep increasing your market share. You can keep increasing how many customers you are serving. You can actually keep scaling the platform company at no increase, practically marginally, very less increase in a cost base compared to your ever escalating red line. What does that all mean in a strategic context? Number one, okay, how you read this graph. Platform companies are expensive to start, more capital intensive to start, and they'll give an impression for first 3 to 5 years as if they are draining money from the bottom line. Because when you start generating revenue and profits, you are actually reinvesting. You have to continue to reinvest. Sometimes you need external capital. That's where the whole venture capital industry and tech startups come into existence to really capitalize these businesses early on. And why are venture capitalists and investors are so attracted to startups, tech startups or the platform companies adopting the platform business model is because of what happens to the cost base after 5 years, after 7 years. When you're really scaling up, your margins increase because your cost base is not increasing proportionate to your scale. Really critical that it's a very simple graph, but there's a whole world of story behind what does this mean in a business model. So coming down to building a business, building a company is hard enough. And as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, if you are invested, you are investing your time, money, resources, blood, sweat, energy, all of that over next 10 years, over next 20 years. What happens is you scale those traditional product and service businesses, and you're going to keep seeing the scaling cost. And it's those scaling costs, that red line that escalates this, as you scale the business, is actually going to reduce what? It's going to reduce your margins, your profitability, and therefore your end, multiples when you exit the business. You exit the business through IPO, listing it on the stock market, private equity trade sale to a private buyers, institutional or some another buyer. The multiples that you get impacted as because you have scaled up your cost as well. The multiples that the platform companies attract has traditionally been higher. It's 2023-24 after the correction in 2022 with the interest rates going up. It's a lot different environment. However, still the multiples that the platform companies attract are way higher in a long run compared to a traditional business. The scalability is much higher at a much profitable margins in a platform company compared to a traditional business company. And that's what this graph is communicating. So it always comes down to, if you are building a company, you're building a business, you are looking at scaling it over the next 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, you want to capture a bigger market share. This conversation is a right fit for only those people, right? Who actually want to scale, who want to build a massive business over the next 5, 7, 10 years, 20 years. You're going to exit the business at a very high value. This conversation is for them. It's worthwhile examining the platform business model because you're going to scale much better margins, much better profitability, much bigger ease with digital platforms as a business model. There are numerous examples of why these companies, let's say accounting platform like Xero. Let's just talk about some examples. So I've talked about the concept. We can remove the slide now and I'll talk about some examples, right? So, and I'm going to use the public company data here to make my point. You go and check the market cap of these listed companies, the platform companies versus traditional business. One of the key metric you can use to examine and compare the valuations is your PE, forward PE ratio, right? It's a financial metric. Look at what's happening with Xero, accounting platform, right? Look at what is happening with REA Group in Australia, realestate.com.au. You have a forward PE multiples in excess of 50. That's 50x of your revenue or your profit instances, your EBITDA. Try and get 50x multiples of your top line revenue or a bottom line, your EBITDA. Which business model is going to give you that? No other business model gives you that kind of multiples compared to a platform business model, which is why in 5, 10, 20 years time, if you are looking at a strategic scale, platform business model is worthwhile considering. There are numerous examples. We can go company after company after company, whether it's America, whether it's Australia, whether it's a private environment, whether it's a public environment. Regardless of those picture, you see over and over and over and over again. Platform companies, stark contrast with product and services companies in the scalability, the valuation multiples, profitability, the profit margins, how they acquire the customers, the virality with which they grow. All of those aspects are key characteristics of the platform companies. It's digital in nature. It's not just a website. It's not just an app. I really would be delighted when in the world people somehow stop mixing apps and a website with a platform businesses. Uber is not just an app. It's a platform business. App is a external manifestation, the interface you interact with, but there's a whole lot more behind it. Similar with Airbnb or Airtasker or HiPages in Australia as a typical platform companies compared to traditional businesses. Okay, and that's what I wanted to I hope this communicates how the business model differences actually impact your ability to scale. Biggest factor being your costs are scaling as you scale the business. In a traditional business model, in a platform business, your costs are not scaling as you scale the business. Hope that makes sense. Hope that's valuable. Jess?
Very clear. Very, very clear. We've been going for like 30 minutes now, so just over 30 minutes.
Yeah.
If there was a key takeaway that you wanted people to get from all of what you said, I think what I'm getting from listening to you is if you are struggling to scale, the answer may not just be hire more people, get the right coach, automate your platform using AI, which kind of sounds like I've got my camera to work again here. That can sometimes sound like the answer in today's age. Like the answer is, if you could just integrate more AI, if you could just do something that's going to reduce time in your business in some way, then I'll scale properly. Then I'll increase my profit margins. Then I'll get some breathing space. That breathing space. What you're actually saying is that may not actually be the answer at all.
Yeah, we got to change the game. Yeah.
You may actually need to examine your business model and how you could work the next 20 years and not actually experience having ample revenue at all.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to literally shift the model, the land upon which you stand.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
You go and do a whole lot of hard work in the middle of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I work 20 hours a day versus I work 20 hours a day in Silicon Valley. This is land upon which you stand in the ecosystem and the environment in which you operate and exercise your effort. Similarly, it's a business model that is kind of transparent and unseen part of the scaling. That's what's got to be considered as a part of your decision.
For sure. We have also an accelerator. I think I might just mention this. There is an accelerator, a 10-week program where you can look at your business and see how you can make that transition and what you would need to do to take yourself from where you are to a platform business model. Your idea, the concept, who your customers would be, your financial model, your value model, all of that work gets done in the accelerator. So we will put a link to there. If you are interested in that, please do reach out. I will send us a DM. And yeah, is there anything else that you want to say, Jay?
I think the accelerator is I want to say one thing about accelerator is, we provide services for digital transformation of business model to various business owners and create next generation platform companies. What we used to do for $20,000, accelerator is really a response to make it more affordable, more accessible, again leveraging AI and doing it as a group, a community of entrepreneurs, like literally 90% less cost than what traditionally it would cost from a service context perspective, right? So accelerator is a phenomenal opportunity for people to come and work with a visionary, inspirational entrepreneurs, examining, critically looking at their business models and looking at creating tomorrow's platform companies, from adopting platform business model, learning about it, applying it to their business and industry, and see what's possible for your business in your industry if you took your expertise, your network into a platform business model context. That's what the accelerator is really about. And we'll work together for 10 weeks to actually answer those questions that remains elusive for most people. So my invitation to people, anyone watching so far in the video, is check out the link that Jess has shared about the accelerator. Talk to us, answer any questions, see if you consider joining accelerator. It's going to be phenomenal. If you are a visionary, if you want to scale the business, it's worthwhile for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jay, for talking on this topic. We are here most weeks talking on this topic, technology, AI, platform-powered business. If you do have any questions, we've had some great questions. We can discuss them here as well. Otherwise, please reach out to us in direct message, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.